Hello everyone and welcome to another little 3D tutorial. This is going to be the first in a series of what I call quick tip videos. We're just going to introduce a couple of smaller little tools or little techniques in 3D Studio Max that you can apply in your modeling. They are wee things that will be useful to you but that often get overlooked or maybe aren't done right. So I just want to highlight them in this wee series. And I'll create more of these videos as we go, as we start modeling stuff, as if we cover wee topics that I think need a video or something that's worth knowing, I'll create a wee separate video for it. So this first one today is on smoothing groups, a really useful wee technique within 3D Studio Max. Also applied to other 3D software, Maya, Blender, whatever, and carries over into your game engines. So although those other softwares, they might call it something else, the same principles will apply, so this will be useful if you use those other softwares. So let's click over to the software here and get a little look. And I'll explain what smoothing groups are. So smoothing groups, what are they? What is the purpose of them? The thing with 3D is everything that we see in 3D is fake. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all magic. It's all tricks of the eye. So we have two cylinders here. On the left, this looks like a perfectly smooth cylinder, and on the right we have one that looks like it's made up of a small number of flat polygons. Why do I say it's like smoke and mirrors? Because if I turn on my 3D overlay, both of these are exactly the same sphere, but we've just applied a little trick to make the one on the left look a bit more realistic than the one on the right. So when you're playing video games or you're watching a film or an animation that has CGI in it, your computer that's processed that, it's not powerful enough to recreate things exactly as they are in the real world. It's just approximating them, and it's using cheats and tricks along the way to make us think that what we're seeing is real. So for example, two identical spheres, but the one on the left, we've applied a little cheat to it to make it look more like a smooth sphere, made it look like it's got more detail or it's smoother than it really is. And that's just one of many tricks that we can use, but very useful one, very useful for games and 3D model and 3D rendering and stuff. So smoothing groups are a tool that allows us to take a 3D object and make it look smooth, hence the name. So how do we do this? Actually quite simple. Our cylinder on the left here is just a primitive, but the cylinder on the right, I've already converted it to an editable poly, and what I've actually done is I've removed all smoothing group information from this. When you create a primitive in 3D Studio Max, it has some smoothing group data applied, so I have just stripped that out to show you what a basic plane sphere looks like with no smoothing groups applied at all. And you get this kind of faceted, kind of gemstone-like quality to it. So what I want to do is apply some smoothing data to this to make it look more like the one on the left. So how I do that, I just scroll down my modifier panel. In fact, sorry, nope. First of all, I want to go into polygon sub-object mode, and then I scroll down my modifier panel, and we're going to find a little panel here called polygon smoothing groups. And you'll identify it by this little grid of all these different numbers here. Now, at the simplest level, all I have to do is select stuff, highlight all these polys, and click in one of these smoothing groups, and hey presto, it's giving us a nice smooth object. If I rotate around, it's nice and smooth. Oh, we're getting a bit laggy here, apologies for that. I don't think my laptop likes me using 3D Studio Max along with my recording software. So let me just turn on that overlay again. So that is our that's the basics of our smoothing groups. We just apply a smoothing group to it, and that will it'll smooth it all out. But we can have a bit of fun with this. We can play with it a bit more. So let me turn on my overlay again. Let me just rotate around about the halfway mark here, and let me just select all these top polys. So at the minute they are all, I just randomly picked smoothing group 19. Again, it doesn't matter which one you use, but let's be nice and neat. Let's deactivate them from smoothing group 19 and switch them over to smoothing group 1 instead. Chances are when we do this, we're going to start logically, we're going to build up 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll put these ones onto smoothing group 1, and if I turn off my overlay, you're going to see something nice happening here. You're going to see that we get this kind of seam around the middle where smoothing group 1 meets the polys of smoothing group 19. Now this is really useful if you're modeling something like a piece of armor, a piece of a vehicle, a piece of a weapon, whatever it may be, and you want to have that kind of seam and them, kind of a hard seam. Easiest way to do it is just to have them as 2 separate smoothing groups. So there's no complicated stuff going on with the geometry there. We're just changing the smoothing groups, and all we're really doing is we're telling our 3D renderer how to apply lighting data to that, how to apply rendering data to it. A couple of interesting wee things we can say here before we move on. Things can actually have multiple smoothing groups applied to them. They don't have to be just one. So I'm going to show a little demonstration here. I'm going to select these 4 polys. In fact, I'm just to make it easier, I'm going to select everything and clear all these smoothing groups off. Just use that clear all button to get rid of all smoothing data. Just make it a wee bit easier to see what I'm doing. I'm going to select these 4 and set them to smoothing group 1. I'm going to set the 4 next to it to smoothing group 2. And you can see we've got these wee small sections that are smooth now, and I've got a wee seam in between them because this is smoothing group 1, this is smoothing group 2. And you can see they're highlighted in blue whenever it is a particular smoothing group. So what happens if I select multiple polys? If I select both of these are all polygon 1, they're all that. If I select this one now, these 4 were poly group 1, this one was poly group 2, you'll see that these have both turned grey. So all that means is that we've selected polys that are part of each of these poly groups. So when it's only from smoothing group 1, they'll be highlighted blue, but when we've got a mixture of different smoothing groups, it'll just highlight them grey like that. It's nothing to worry about at all. And what we can also do is I can select these 4 in the middle, and we can see that these are both part of smoothing group 1, or some of them are smoothing group 1, some of them are smoothing group 2. But if I click number 3 on them, we'll see we get a nice smooth gradation between them all together. Oh, sorry, my computer's going slow. It's hard to kind of keep track of this here. And if I select one of these middle polys, you'll see this one is poly group 2 and 3. This one is poly group 2 and 3. This one is 1 and 3. And this one is 1 and 3 as well. Poly group 1, poly group 2, 2, 3, 1 and 3. This is more complicated kind of stuff. Don't be worrying about this. This is just me playing about and showing you how this all displays. We're getting a wee bit complicated here. But if I select these and I deactivate poly group 3, we'll see we can separate them into their 2 separate wee groups again. This is way more than most of you'll ever have to keep track of just for the average model. Most of the time you just be doing each poly as a certain smoothing group. But I just thought I'd show you that, so if you're ever wondering how these actually get notarized, if it's just one smoothing group or whatever smoothing groups are applied to a particular object, they'll highlight blue here. If you've got multiple poly selected from multiple different smoothing groups, the number itself will disappear. But it's nothing major to worry about. Don't be worried about that. That's just kind of getting into the more complicated aspects of smoothing groups. I'm going to show you a couple of common mistakes here now that I see with models. And to do so, I'm just going to create a simple cylinder. There's 2 very common mistakes that we see whenever people apply smoothing groups to stuff. Either they have too many smoothing groups or too little smoothing groups. So a really common exercise that we do in the college when we are modeling, let me just move this out of the way here, we make Lego men. So Lego men have that little cylindrical head with a wee extrusion coming out the top with a wee stud. And I'm going to show you a common error that we see all the time. First of all, the first error that we would see, I'll just show you, yep, we've got a nice wee breakdown there. I'm going to convert it in editable poly. There we go. And I'm going to go into polygon mode. And as I said before, primitives have smoothing data already applied. So you can see that we have one smoothing group here along the curved surface, and then another smoothing group along the top surface here. So if I select these and we scroll down to our smoothing groups, you can see that part of this uses smoothing group 1 and the other part uses smoothing group 4. Now what I want to do is I'm going to clear all this data off. I'm going to apply everything in this model to smoothing group 1. And if I deselect it, you'll see it looks kind of weird. It looks unnatural. It doesn't look right at all. And the reason for that is we've taken this whole object and given it one smoothing group, when realistically we know in real life that we would never have a smooth surface over this. That angle is just too sharp. That's a 90-degree angle there, so we know that we should see a change in the light between that top face and that side face. So as I said before, it's all smoke and mirrors, but those smoke and mirrors can only go so far before they break, and we end up with a really weird fake looking cylinder like this. So we don't see the edge here, we don't see the wee rim, and also at the bottom these shadows are starting to look a bit weird. And the reason for that is simply because our smoothing groups have been applied wrong. We've just applied one smoothing group all over it without really thinking about logically how the smoothing group should be applied. So I'm going to take this wee top surface here, I'm going to deactivate smoothing group 1, and there you go, we can see that it's already got rid of some of that shadowing. I'll just put it in smoothing group 2 instead, and you can see at the top there it looks a lot better. And now on the bottom, if I can just roll this round a wee bit, apologies for my slow computer again, I'll deactivate smoothing group 1 and I'll put this one into smoothing group 3 this time, and you can see that that cylinder looks a lot better. And it really is because just to do with the angle between polygons. If you have something like the sphere here that have quite a shallow angle between each polygon, it's not too sharp an angle, applying a smoothing group will look fine and the shadows will come out fine. But if you have something with a really sharp edge on it, like these two polys here with a 90-degree angle, you can't add a smoothing group to those because it will just end up looking fake. It won't look right. So when you're applying your smoothing groups, just always be careful. Think of the angle going between two polys before you apply a smoothing group to it, if they really should have smoothing applied. So that's our first wee problem that we always see. Second wee problem, I'll just switch this back on here. So we've got our smoothing groups applied to this, and it looks nice, but we want to manipulate this cylinder a wee bit. We want to play with the geometry a wee bit. I want now to extrude out some geometry. Where are we at? There we are. So I'm just going to extrude a wee bit up here. I want an extra wee segment top and extrude it a wee bit taller. There we go. Looks perfect. Happy days. But if I turn off my wireframe, you're going to see here a little error with it. We can see that the bottom has that smoothing data applied, but the top, this new geometry that we have, these new polys, don't have that smoothing data applied. Now, it's really, really common. I see students do it all the time where they do not update the smoothing group on this, and it gives a weird appearance. It looks unfinished. It looks a bit amateurish. So make sure that you're always double checking your smoothing groups and fixing your smoothing groups. So here for this, if I scroll down here, this side portion, this curved portion is all smoothing group 1. All I want to do, select these polys and also apply smoothing group 1 to them. Make sure they are all on smoothing group 1. There we have our nice smooth thing again. That is all I want to cover in this wee video. I don't want it to drag out too long. Smoothing groups, very, very important. Know what they are. Make sure you're applying them to your models, and they will make them look better. Understand how they work. Understand the difference between the angles and where you should use your smoothing groups. And that's really it. Okay, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, add a comment down below. I'll try and answer that. If you're a 3ds Max user already and you have any helpful tips that my students might find useful, please leave a comment. Otherwise, thank you, and I'll see you next time.